The United States is attempting to bring renewed attention today to another international conflict. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is in Kyiv on a surprise visit, pledging continued military support to Ukraine, even as the war in Gaza puts an increasing demand on international resources. Richard Madden is in our Washington bureau tracking details on this. Good to see you, Richard. What can you tell us about Austin's visit?
Yeah, it was kept under wraps by the Pentagon. Secretary Austin making that unannounced trip in a symbolic message of what he called America's unwavering support for Ukraine's war against Russia. He also made a high-profile push to keep cash and weapons flowing into the region because there are concerns the international focus appears to be shifting to Israel's war against Hamas. And that feeling is that Ukraine is being neglected, support for its war against Russia is waning, and international resources are being stretched. So the defense secretary delivered a message of reassurance when he addressed leaders upon his arrival. Take a listen.
The President of the United States is grateful. I know that because I talk to him a lot. And you are on his mind each and every day. And I hope that based upon your work, based upon the work of the other 50 countries that are working with us, that we can move the needle forward and help Ukraine do what it wants to do, and that is regain its sovereign territory.
So moving that needle forward, he says, and that's a key part of his message. This, of course, is Austin's second trip to Ukraine, and it comes under much different circumstances. You'll recall his first trip happened last April, just 2 months after Russia's large-scale invasion in Ukraine. Back then, Ukraine had the backing of much of the Western world, including Canada, with more than 50 countries pledging to provide weapons, training, and support. But now cracks are starting to show. Some European countries like Poland have scaled back support, citing their own needs to keep fighting abilities to defend themselves. Secretary Austin is scheduled to meet with top officials today and address Ukraine's urgent military needs as the war enters another cold winter of fighting.
Okay, so Richard, obviously the Biden administration pledging to provide continued military assistance to Ukraine, but of course that takes money, and that's being challenged now by this growing division in Washington. What's at issue there when it comes to the funding necessary to do this?
Yeah, Ukraine now becoming a political flashpoint as we enter political election season next year, and it further complicates Secretary Austin's visit. Domestic politics now an issue. The Pentagon's annual budget for Ukraine is running out, and a divided Congress is stalling on more cash for Ukraine. There was no new money for Ukraine in its latest spending bill, and officials have been urging Congress to provide additional money, but a growing number of Republicans are opposed to funding Ukraine unless Congress puts funding to the southern border in the U.S. So it's unclear when or if lawmakers will carve out a separate spending bill to address it, and how America's upcoming election year may put this funding under more scrutiny.
Got it. Richard, thank you so much for this. Richard Madden in our Washington bureau.